So, good evening. I'm Satish here for Pragnan AI. So, today we will be discussing an very important topic that is called file handling. So, before jumping into file handling, why file handling and all those things, so let me explain you why we need such kind of things. So, whenever we try to create a program or whenever we create a data or like any information, if you wanted to store, so something that like you wanted to store about my health information or you wanted to store my college information, all those things, so we need to store the information into some places. So there are only two places are there where we can store this information. One is a database. So I can create a database for storing the information, or I can create a file to store an information. So there is so in the computer world, if I have to store information, then I have to store as a database or as a file, whatever it may be. Like if it is an image, then image file. If it is a video, video file. If it is a text file, document or PPT, presentation or anything. Or we can put that information into a database, because only these are the two ways we identified to store the information on our computer systems. So database, anyhow, we'll be discussing how to deal with the database. But other than that, like then how should we deal with the file? So is the topic of the today's session. So intention here is actually, see, if information is exist in the file, then how should we extract information file and do process something? So far what we have discussed actually is, assume I need to read two values from user. Then I will be asking you to read from user. It's like input, and then you will be reading from the user and doing. But that is just to learn the programming. But in real world, the large kind of volumes of a data will be exist in either in database, either in the file. It's like you have to extract information from the file, from the database, because even if it is a IoT, even if it is a sensor or whatever it may be, everything will be dumped into a database or a file. So importance to connect with the file and read the file is also important, and connecting to database and getting information and storing information also important. And that is the reason, if you do any program, if any programming, so fine, either it should be interacting with the, like, not I'm saying that like simple program, what you are saying, any product or solution, any software you build, so the information, if you wanted to deal with, you should be either you will be dealing with the file system, file handling, either with the DB. So if you say that like I wanted to be IT engineer, I wanted to want in an enterprise, any company, so you should be able to deal with this one, then only you are complete. Or else like you are just doing a program but you don't know how to deal with the file or how to deal with the database, then you don't have the clear picture. So that is how that much importance is there, file handling and database interactions. I hope you understood the context of the today's session. So what exactly the file handling means. So why we need to store the information into file? Because when we access and start executing the program, so we'll be executing from the memory. So memory is a volatile. It's like if you turned off the computer, then the information will be lost. So whatever the processing you have done on the data in the computer, that has to be stored into something called hard disk, or something called floppy disk, or something called USB, or something called anything. So SSD, HDD, or tape, or like CD-ROM, any of those things which are permanent storage. Means like permanent storage means like even if you turn off the power to them, so if you don't supply power to HDD or SSD or USB or anything, so information is not lost. But if you turn off the computer, the information which is stored in the RAM will be lost. So that is called non-volatile memory, volatile memory. So memory is RAM is a volatile memory. So SSD, HDD, and all those things are non-volatile memory. I think you already know that. So any files, when we say we are dealing with the file, means like we'll be dealing with the HDD. So how it will be happen? Like, so it will be stored in a hard disk or SSD. And since see, just like memory will be classified as like bytes, actually, like memory is in terms of bytes, hard disk also be segmented. So like means like, so what I'm trying to say is actually like whatever it may be, even if it is a USB, even if it is HDD, or even it is SSD. So these are a different type of storage devices. SSD is actually solid state drive. So based on the flash. So USB is also based on the flash actually, but interface is different here. So USB interface is there. Here HDD and SSD SATA interface will be there, or some other interface will be there, SAS or all things. So this is SSD is a magnetic drive. CD-ROM is actually optical drive. CD-ROM is optical drive. So any of, whether it is USB, HDD, SSD, so there also there is a segment. There also some kind of a structure is there where the structure is there where we can store the information. But we are not dealing with like how we are storing the information file on the SSD, USB. But what we are discussing is actually we will be storing as a file. So when I am trying to store information as a file, then I will be dealing with the interface with operating system. In operating system, some component called file systems. We will be dealing with the file systems. So I'm not going detail about that actually, but just I'm trying to give a glimpse about how things happens. So for example, you are trying to read or write or something. So what happens actually, like we will be executing. So what happens actually, we will be executing on the operating systems. Like much like our program is exist here. So then I will be using the operating system to access the file, and this file information about the file will be stored in something like a file system. That is another software that is a part of operating system. It knows about how this file is stored on the hard disk. So how this file is stored on the hard disk is known by file system. I'm not bothered about. So irrespective of the file is stored in hard disk, whether it is HDD, whether it is a USB, whether it is a CD-ROM, whether it is some other thing. So my access to file will be same, because entire thing, the difference between hard disk or SSD, everything is taken care by the file system. That is a part of operating system. So you will be dealing directly with the file handling. So interface to you, the interface to the program is very common, irrespective of whether you are accessing file from USB drive, whether you are accessing from CD-ROM, whether you are accessing from hard disk. But all these are different kind of devices. But still, when you are reading the program file from the program, Python program or any program through the operating system, your interface will be very similar, irrespective of where it is stored. So I hope you understood that. Any question here so far? So depending on what file you are depending on what information you want to store, there are different type of file are there. So if you are trying to store only the text information, then you can create a .txt or .docs file. So where you can put a text kind of information. You are just only interested in the text file. There is no image and all those things, just only the text kind of things. Then I will be using .txt. The .txt is actually file extension. Just like when we create a program file. So what is a Python program file extension? .py or .ipynb. So something like that. So any text file extension will be .txt. And if any Excel file, then extension will be XLS, or any CSV, comma separated values file, then .csv file. So JSON file or Python file means like every file. If it is an image, then there are so many type of image files are there. PNP, JPG, and all those things. So many audio file types are there. So many video files types are there. But finally, it is a different files. Like what exactly, why we need this kind of file types? Because each file, the way to interpret the information is different. So we need to have a specific software to read this file. It's like you cannot open what is called PPT file in another software. So if you have to open the PPT file, Microsoft present PowerPoint, you should be using it. Or if you are opening the Keynote file, that is PPT, just like the what is my PPT is there in Mac OS. So I need to have a software for Keynote, because it knows how the information is stored in the specific file. So that is the reason they have an extension. So by using the extension, the software understands this is the extension, I need to read it, and then it understands what is information stored in that file, because each file has a different file formats. So I'm not going deeper into that, but what I'm trying to say is actually lot of different kind of files are there. different kind of information different ways of storing information in the file there. But right now, what we will be discussing as part of program is actually we will be discussing about how to read the text file. But when we discuss about pandas, then we'll see that like how to read the information from Excel sheet, how to read the information from CSV file, and few more JSON and all those things we'll be discussing, even from the DB. But right now, we will be all dealing with the .txt because that is a plain text. So we know how to read and write plain text because it is all ASCII characters, like so it is all normal text. So we when we try to do program, we only deal with the .txt files. But if you wanted to read the other files, then there is a different softwares will be there, different approach will be there. That we will discuss later on when in pandas. So how to read from CSV or Excel sheets or JSON file or web file or some other database and all those things that we will be discussing there. But right now we will be discussing dealing with reading and writing a text file. I hope you understood that. Any questions here so far? What is a file? So file is a what exactly the definition of the file? So file is a collection of data. Like so, we will be storing the data in a file. So it's like a collection. So record. So which will be stored in a non-volatile memory. It is not stored on the volatile memory. So it will be permanently stored. So fine. So depending on what kind of information you are storing, like if you are image file, then the different kind of file formats will be there. So fine. So these are the file extensions, and there are so many extensions are there. So and see, for example, if I have to discuss about more about the file, so file doesn't have only the information data what we try to store. It also has something extra information. So those kind of information is called file attributes or something like. So size of the file means like what is the size of the file in terms of bytes? How many bytes are there? So let me show you if I open any documents. So let me show 1 minute. If I open, see if you see here actually, this is a file name. So this is the kind of the file. So then if I have, I can also get the details, further details about what is the size of the file also. Let me show that also. This is in view we have to change. So these, so if you wanted to see, or else like you can get the get info. It's like you will be getting lot of information. If you see here actually, this is the size of the file. If you see, so size of the file is in terms of bytes. So these many bytes are 9.8 MB. So this is a file. And then other than that, actually, it will also have what kind of file. So that is a file extension. It is a Microsoft PowerPoint document. So that is a type of the file. Then where, so who is the who created this file, when it was created this file, and name extension. Means like what I'm trying to say is actually file will have lot of additional informations like the size, location where it is stored, path to the file. Path to the file means like where exactly the file is stored. So for example, if I have to search a file, then either I will be going to the desktop, either I will going to another folder, then I'll another folder. Means like that is what is that actually? That is a path to the file. So path to the file. For example, if I'm trying to search this file, so I'll be going for Tom is the root directory. From there, it is the tools. From tools, I will be going to old. Means like if I have to access, the path will be Tom/tool/old. So this is means like this is necessary because this is what is maintained or by the file systems. Means like file system knows actually the path of the file, and also it knows actually where exactly it is stored in the disk. But that information is not exposed. But what we will get like these informations, like some of the information I need to know. So the location, attributes, what is the attributes actually? Whether the file is executable files, whether the file is opened in read mode, write mode, all these are all the attributes of the files. So we'll be discussing one by one. So file will have certain kind of additional information. This is additional information. This is not the file data. So what we store in the file is different, and this information is different. This is called metadata of the file. It will call metadata of the file means like some information about the file. So some additional information about the file, size of the file, attributes, like these are the additional information, and this information is necessary to understand what is this file, how much is size and all those things. Like to take some decisions, we need this information. This information that is need by us, and this information will be updated or modified by file systems. We are not doing anything there. So we are only dealing with the file reading and writing, but entire updating of these things will be done by the file systems. We are not bothered about it actually. But what is necessary for us is actually we need to access the file using the file handling operations. There is a access will be there. So like open, read, these are the function APIs provided by. It's like the way we use another functions, correct? Length and other things. So something that like there are another functions are there. We will be calling these functions like to handle the files. So like what all those common file handles are there? Operation file handling operations are there. Open, opening the file, close, closing the file, read from the file, write to the file, appending information to the file. So like rename the file, remove the file, all these are the common access points. So irrespective of whether the file is stored on the hard disk, SSD, flash, cloud storage, anywhere. So if you wanted to access the file, I should be giving the file path, and I will be using only these interfaces. Programmatically, if I have to access, I will be getting only these kind of interfaces. So that is how they have made our life much more easy. So no need to bother about whether it is stored in hard disk. How should I read hard disk? If it is stored in storage, because each hardware is different. But irrespective of these hardwares are different, but your access to the file is very, very unique. So very, very unique. So that is what we are doing. And even irrespective of whether the file type is something like what is called JPG and all those things, we will be using only these kind of interfaces, and then interpreting the information will be different. So because of the operating system, because of these file systems, our life to interface the file will be very, very, very unique and very, very simple, irrespective of where we are no need to know about more about hardware and all those things. So these are the key interfaces we will be discussing. So, and in terms of attributes, like I said, no, so these are the other attributes, like some kind of additional kind of attributes. So forget about right now the attributes. So just you think that like some additional information will be there. So like what kind of encoding, what is the name and all those things, you forgot about this. So what we will be dealing is actually we will be start doing and accessing the file using these operations like opening, close the file, read the file. So we will be doing the basic operations. Basic operations actually open the file, close the file, read, write the file, and delete the file, all those things. Like, so only these are the basic operations we will be doing. So now let us discuss about first thing, how should we open a file? So how should we open a file and how should we read a file? So let me do one thing before think. The API to open a file is starts with open, and in the bracket I should be first giving the file name. It's like this file name is a path to the file. So now, and the mode. It's like why the mode is necessary, because I wanted to say, for example, if two people are accessing the file, so we cannot what is called modify or like in simultaneously. So I will be protecting it actually, how it has to be accessed. Or else somebody is like, for example, if you access my system and you can modify anything, it's like you can corrupt my files also. But what happens actually, sometimes what I will be giving, I will be saying that like you can access my file, but you cannot modify my file. So then you will be opening in only read only mode. So sometimes I need to say that like you can access it, you can edit it, but you cannot execute this file. So we can give the control. Means like what is the intention of this mode is actually giving a protecting the exclusive right. Means like giving a gradual control over the file. Means like I'm not giving entire access, but I'm giving only read only access, or I'm giving read and write access, but not execute access. Means like using the mode, I am trying to give certain controls and I'm trying to protect certain controls. That is the objective of this mode. So if I have to open a file, first open is the keyword, then I need to give the file name and I need to give the mode. Let us see that like how I am trying to do in the accessing a file. So let me say that like text.txt is a text file. This is the file name, so which I wanted to open, and the mode is actually I wanted to write because it is may not be existing. So I wanted to open in the write mode. Encoding is actually forget about right now encoding. So this is by default it will be UTF-8 only. So this encoding, all these things comes mainly because different people are using different keyboards, and if they are trying to store it in different way, then it will be much more difficult for somebody to interpret. So this encoding is all things are necessary because to create a uniformity about the information how we are trying to store. So right now you forgot about encoding thing. So now I am trying to open, since this is a keyword and this is a file name, so which I should be giving. The file name I should be giving in the quotes, and then this mode, in the mode I should be giving the in the quotes. So this quotes, what I should be giving. So there is a command is there, like, so if it is a W, write. R means like read. X means like execute. A means append. So and T is the text mode, B is the binary mode. So if you wanted to open in the binary mode, WB. If you want to open in text mode, there is not necessary. By default, it is text mode only. So if you want to open this one, for example, if I have to open image file, then I should be opening WB, actually binary mode. So then, and if I want to open in the write mode, I'm saying if I wanted to open in the read mode, there's something. If you wanted to do read and write, I can say RW. So, or if you want to do W plus, means like read, write is included. So like that. So you can specify which mode you wanted to open the file. So any questions here? And whatever I'm trying to open, I'm trying to store into one variable called if. This variable is called file handle. So file handle means like, so I am trying to get a handle to you. So for example, you got admitted to one college. What they will give? They will give one registration number. So they will be dealing with you everything with the registration number. Like for example, if you enroll to VT University, correct? So VT will give a registration number. So till you complete the degree, they will all refer you by that registration number only. So any information need, everything will be there in that handle. So this handle is used to access the file and do all those operations. So till, and then when you wanted to close it, you can close the handle. So this handle will be used to do any operations with the file. So first, after opening the file, I will be getting handle and I will be using for entire other activities for this file handle, because this is the handle I will try. For example, I need to add some text to that. Which file? So you need to say that which handle I need to look and I need to add. So this is the file handle I will be getting. So the syntax will be open and in the bracket, the file name, mode, and then I will be assigning the file handle. So this is how I will be accessing the file. Any questions so far? Anybody not understood any of these terms? What is meant by mode? So what is meant by file name? This is a file name or full path? Fine. Any questions?
Sir. No, sir.
Okay. So next, let us let this connect. Okay. So now I opened it actually. Like if you want to see, so if you want to see F, how it looks like, this is how it F looks like. So this is a file handle. So now see, this is a IO text wrapper name. So see, it is a name, file name, and mode and encoding. Means like it, I will be getting this information. This handle is of handle of which file and which mode. This is what is this actually? This is a attribute of the file. So that is what we discussed here. So we discussed here some attributes, the file systems. So I am be getting that. So IO text wrapper, some attributes. So I must like I need to know about little bit about the file, which is the file. So this is beautiful because see if you say F actually, I will be come to know this is handle for which file. So the file name, mode, and the something. So now I got the handle. So if you want to close the file, then I will be closing the file. So if I close the file, so I will be closing the file. So say one more thing. So whenever you're trying to do operations with the file, so you should not forget about closing the file, because that is very important. So or else like your file will be get corrupted. So you should be opening the file, and before you end the working with the file, you should be closing the file. So you should not forget closing the file, because the assumption here is actually the person who deals with the file is an expert guy, not the basic guy. So here they expect you that like whatever the file you open, you should be able to close it. So that is the expectation, because they consider like this file, and from here onwards, what all the things we are trying to learn, no, those things are learned by the expert kind of like the something like advanced Python. So the people who wants to be learn more and more advanced kind of people. So they expect you to, that you should be closing the file. So opening the file and closing the file. These two things you should be doing. The next thing is actually uh, for sometimes what happens, no, sometimes I wanted to open a file. If that file doesn't exist, then it will give an error. So for example, now let me see that like whether the file exists or not. So if I say ls and see here that file exists or not. If the file exists, fine. So text.txt file is exist. So let me try to open another file which doesn't exist. So then I will be getting an error. So let me show that, like I'll show. So text1.text_1, that file doesn't exist. So if I try to open it, actually I will be getting an error. See, file does not found error because that file doesn't exist. So this is how it will be crashing. So if the file get crashed, instead of that, we should be dealing with these kind of operations using try and finally. So this is called exceptional handling. So what exactly happens actually, if you say try, within that, if I put a code, this one, and then what happens if it gets an error? So what happens, it doesn't crash the way it crashed earlier. So it will go to finally, then I will be closing the file because I need to close the file. No, even if I'm not able to access also, like any wrong thing happened while dealing with that, finally before I wanted to exit, I need to close the thing. So that is how it should be. So you need to put information in try and the close, because if I access and after that, like something, if I'm trying to do, some error came and I wanted to, instead of terminating in between and exiting, I need to go to finally and exit. So we will discuss try and finally a little bit later on in the exceptional handling, but we need to do this one. So in another programming language, so try and finally is the approach is there. But in Python, what they said actually, instead of exposing to try and finally, they have introduced one something called with. What is that actually? With, this is where I am trying to open the file and handle. So as f means like whatever I have opened this, and I want to store that into a file handle as f means like f is the handle for this one. And if I'm trying to put within the with, then what happens actually, I should be not writing at the starting post, I should be giving a indentation. So now the responsibility of closing the file, if I'm not here, I'm not doing anything, it's a responsibility of closing the file will be the with. So if I come out of this with block, then automatically file will be handle will be closed. So no need to look about. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to open the file, and this is my first file. So I'm writing, actually this is my first file. Then I'm writing, this is a file. This is a file, and it contains 3 lines. So these are the 3 things I'm trying to write in the file. So let me do. So I'm opening this file, and this is the handle. So see, whenever I'm trying to access any operations, I should be using this f. So f dot close, f dot write, f dot read, f write. Means like after opening the file, I will be using that handle for do all those operations available for file handling. So like closing the file, reading, writing, and all any operations will be there. So I'll be doing f dot. So because that handle. So now I'm trying to write. So what is that actually? I'm writing one statement. So it is very simple. So this string I'm trying to write to the file. So next I'm trying to write another string. Next I'm trying to write another string. So now what happens after that? After that I'm not closing it because I have opened in with. So next, so this is how I'm trying to write it actually. Now next is actually like I wanted to read that file. So now I wanted to read that file, and how many lines I've written? 3 lines, 4 lines. I wanted to read those many lines. So fine. So let me stop. Just do only this reading. So how should I read the file? Dot read. In bracket, I am giving how many lines I wanted to read. So that number is how many information I wanted to read. So this one, whatever we are trying to say, those many number of, whatever I'm trying to say is in terms of bytes actually. If I'm trying to do read line, then whatever I'm trying to say, that will be in terms of lines. But here, whatever I'm trying to say is actually in terms of bytes. So what is the first 4 characters of the information what I have stored? M, Y, is 2 character, then space is third character, F is the 4 characters. I wanted to read the 4 characters what I have written. If you wanted to read 10 character, I can read 10 character. So I will be reading 10 characters. My first F. So that I'm trying to read the 10 characters. So if you wanted to read 20 characters, I can create. It's like you can say how many characters you wanted to read. So I will be getting those many characters. Is it clear? So whatever I have written, I'm able to read. Yes or no? So you can try out creating a text file and trying to enter your details, something like basic things, and try out reading it. So simple. To write is actually f dot write, to read f dot read. So while writing, I don't need to specify how many bytes because I'm trying to give a string. So then automatically it calculates what's the length of the values I need to write. While reading, I need to mention how many bytes I need to read. Or else like I should be using another function. Let me show another function also, read line. So if I have to read the line, so now there is another function is called, let me go here. So automatically like, you'll see that like dot, automatically you come to know that like what all the functions are there. So there is a read line function is there. There's a read line. So how many lines you wanted to read, or one line, you can read the first line. So fine. So read lines means like multiple lines. I wanted to read the multiple lines. So how many? So for this first line, second line, then third line is empty, fourth line. So all 4 lines I'm trying to read. So read line, read lines. There are 3 ways of reading the values. So then after that, like I will be closing it. So after that, I should be close the file. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, let me explain
No,
you
sir.
one more concept. So now I am trying to open again. And here, instead of reading, I'm trying to read the 20 bytes. So next, what happens actually? I got this 20 bytes. Then if after that, if I try to read another 20 bytes, so it won't be from starting location. It will be from the next location. See, if you see actually my first line and this is there in the first time. Then after that, like next 20 is from a file, something like that. So next 20, if you are reading, then what is this actually? This is called file pointer or cursor. So initially, by when you open the file pointer will be pointing at this first letter. So then if you read 4 character, the file pointer will be pointing to the 5th character. So after that, if you read another 4 character, it will be pointing at the 9th character. So it's like how many bytes you are reading, the file pointer will be keep on updating. So if you wanted to see that like where exactly file pointer is there, so you can use one more function called ftell. Let me show that actually ftell. So it will tell actually what is the location this file pointer exists. So this will give where exactly file pointer is there. So since I have read 20 bytes first, then another 20 bytes, then my file pointer is at position 40. So if you wanted to set it back to 0, then there is one more function called seek. So if it's a seek 0, then I will be resetting the file pointer to the 0 location. Let me show you that like actually after this, if you try something that like ftell, I will be pointing to the 0th location. Then if you try to read something, so now if I wanted to read some information, so then I will be checking where exactly. So I'm trying to read 20 bytes. Then if you check actually, it is going to the 20 bytes. So that is how you can start working. So any questions here? So fine. Any doubts? Any question? What is meant by tell? What is meant by seek? What is meant by read line? What is meant by read lines? What is meant by write? So these are the common functions we will be using while working with the file systems. So what are the things we discussed actually? What are the common files operations are there? So we discussed about open, read, write, and we discussed about close. And we know it's a rename and remove all those things like we can do even manually also. So the split append is not that important, but seek and tell is important because we need to know the position. So any doubts here so far? Okay, so what I will be okay. See what we I will do some examples is there. So let me Okay. So we'll try to do append also. So let me see if append function is there. Or else, okay. So let me go here. Is append is there? Right now. Let me see in Python append is there or not. Write line is there. Write is there. And C read is there. Flush is there. Detach is there. So there is no append here. So there is only read and write. Okay. So in that, like read line is looked into, close we looked into. So now what is called read we looked into, read lines we looked into, read line looked into, seek we looked into. So write we looked into. Write lines is multiple lines we are trying to write. So that is fine. So there are few more things are there. One is writable. What exactly writable means, like, so if you see that, like if I open a file, so now let me tell you here. Okay. Now if I open a file, I open this file in the read mode. So now if I try to write here, it will give an error. So now if I say write, because since I open in the read mode, if so I'm trying to the fourth line. So now I am trying to write here. So it may give error because I have opened in read mode. So this is crashing my program. So instead of that, what I will be doing, I will be so now what I will be doing, I will be checking actually, is it writable or not? How should I check? If, see now instead of this actually, let me do if f dot writable. So if it is writable, is it writable? No, writable. If it is writable, then I will be writing. So else I won't be writing. Else I will say print file is not writable. Okay. So see, because this is how I can check instead of crashing. So the simultaneously simply just like writing the file and reading the file without knowing what mode it has opened. Instead of that, like is writable or not is a question I will be asking, and the result, based on the result, I will do the operations. And something similar to that, like so many other functions are there. Let me show that, like there is one more function called see the writable we discussed. No, seekable. Seekable means like whether I can go back to the different position or not. Some files are not seekable, so some files are seekable. So for example, if the file is stored in some location which is not seekable, you cannot come back at actually, then you cannot seek that, you cannot come set back to the zero. So you need to check actually, but most of the file what we discuss actually is seekable because we are working on the hard disk, but some places it may not be seekable. So I need to check whether it is seekable or not. So let me check the seekable or not. So if it is true, then I can do seek operations, or else I cannot do seek operation. Means like if it is not true, then I cannot do something like seek is equal to 0 or seek setting to anything. I can not only say seek is equal to 0, I can say seek is equal to any number. So I can do other values also. Like I can say seek is equal to 40 or 60. I can set anything. So since it is seekable, I can do it. If it is not seekable, then I cannot do that. So fine. So the you see that like whether the seek is done or not. So I need to check actually ftl. Ftl will tell whether it has the pointer is moved to the 60th position. So you will tell that like it's moved to the 60 position. So that is also discussed. So what else is left out? Writable is done. Seekable is done. Tell is done. Write is done. So okay. Read line is done. Read lines is done. Readable. So readable is another thing. So we can also check. So whether it is a readable or not. So let me check that also. readable. So whether this file is readable or not. So I can, so it is true. So next is close is done. So these are the very basic. So now let us go into few more things. So something like a truncate. What exactly truncate means? Like actually I am truncating. So truncate for next 20 or like, so I am trying to specify where exactly you are truncating. Word truncate is actually like I am trying to truncate the size. So it is something that like a round off or something like. So I need to resize or I need to modify and say that like my file size should be something only these many bytes or something. So something like by doing round off, I'm trying to remove the decimal point, correct? So here by using truncate, I'm saying that like my file size should be something this is. Remaining I should be removing off or I will be deleting it actually. Truncating is actually like till what should be your size of the file. So remaining I should be discarding. So that is a truncate. So truncate will be used. So what exactly happens actually? It will trim off the file. So by it will trim off the file. So that is one thing. Then other than the truncate actually, seekable, seek, read line, read. Is attribute. So is file stream is an okay. So this is not okay. So this is not that important. So file stream. Okay, let me show that also. Better. See, anything if you wanted to look about any attributes of a file, so you can check whether this is attribute of a file or not that actually, but that is not regularly we'll be using. So what is the attribute? All those things we are not regularly using. Flush is very important, but why I'm trying to not saying about flush is actually, uh, I need to explain about flash and all those things, cache and all those things. Usually what happens in operating systems actually, whenever trying to read and write actually, you are not directly writing to the hard disk. It will be written into a something called a cache, but some people who doesn't know what is the cache and all those things, forget about it actually, because I need to explain a lot about computer system or something. So let me, if I have to tell in the brief actually, so I need to say something like this system. Whenever this is a primary RAM. So whenever I'm trying to access or memory and I want to do something. So what happens actually, this is a CPU where exactly the program will be executing. So whenever I'm trying to modify, and I will be not writing even in memory also, I will be writing into only in the cache memory. So any modification. So this is not reflected into memory and that is not reflected into the hard disk where the file is stored. So when you say either you are closing down, either you close the file, either you are shutting down, or when you say flush, or after some time it will say automatically say flush. So then only this information which is stored here in the cache will be stored in main memory and that will be stored back to the hard disk. So the flush command, like sometimes what happens actually, so for example, this file is exist in hard disk and this is one CPU where I'm trying to access. In another CPU, so there is no more CPUs are there, no. One another CPU I'm trying to access same file. This guy has written, but it is written here in the cache only. It is not reflected here. And this guy, another guy is trying to read from the hard disk, he'll be getting the old information. So during those kind of scenarios, every time after writing something, you should be saying flush. Then because that information will be stored back to hard disk, then the other guy can read it actually. So that is the objective. But if you are not able to understand, still okay, because I need to explain about the cache system and all those things. So that is too much, because so many places it will be stored. It won't be reflected directly writing, because when we try to write entire thing, no. So because if I have to write into the cache, it is very fast. If I have to write into RAM, little bit slow. If I have to write into hard disk, lot of slow. So what happens actually, like then your system thinks like if I'm trying to access file a lot of time and every time I'm writing into hard disk, then your systems become very slow. You will see that like, okay, I'm not able to move or around or make my mouse is stagnant, something like that. So that is the reason they introduce something like cache. So when you say flush, every time you are saying flush means like you are reducing the speed of operations, like your computer doesn't work that fast actually. So that is what is happens. But whenever necessary, because that time I will be doing flush. So the flush is to do that actually. So next is actually, there is one more command is there. Any questions? one more point. I forgot actually. No, no problem. So we'll continue like whenever I remember, I will tell you. So now in the mode, either you can say read mode, write mode individually, either you can also say something like this. So W plus plus. When I say plus plus means like it can be uh, read plus write plus and execute something that like A plus plus. X is for execute. So you can say something like that. Like so you can either say R if you wanted to open in the binary mode, RB means like read but binary. Binary mode means like for image file, audio file, and all those things file. If you wanted to read the information, you have to open in the binary mode. So RB. So write plus binary mode. So append with binary mode. So if you wanted to do multiple things, so if I say that like R plus, so read and write. W plus, write and read. So that is all things are there. A plus, append and read and write and all those things. So these are the commands, mode commands. So you should be using it. So other than that, file close is there. Okay, extension. So any questions? So now the some small program, what you should be doing is actually you should read the person name like the same. So I said no. So yesterday I asked you to create a dictionary of the person name, surname, college, and address. So what you will be doing after reading the dictionary, you should be dumping to the file. You should read the dictionary of a one person and you should dump into the file. So next time, like one person, you read the information, instead of appending to the list, you should be dumping to the file. So next, read another person information, dump to the file. Next, read another information and dump to the file. Then next, read into the thing. So you should be storing those information in the text file. So next, after that, you should be reading how many people are there. So you should be reading those information and displaying. So that is the program you should be doing as assignment of file handling. So you should be opening the file in the write mode and then read the information. So you should be read information and writing into the file systems. So that is the assignment you should be doing. So and also you need to count how many people are there. How many people are there? So that is assignment you should be doing. Only one assignment which covers everything. Because I'm saying write and I'm saying read and I'm also saying count and all those things. So this covers everything. So one program only you can do to in file handling. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So we discussed about with we discussed with as we discussed. That is fine. Left out. Okay. So another thing is if you wanted to read multiple lines, so you can say open file and read lines. So then I wanted to iterate over the display the lines one by one by one by one. Let me do this actually. So now let me write these things. So I'm writing. Let me I just repeat the same thing. So just instead of typing takes a lot of time, I'm trying to repeat same thing. So many lines I'm trying to write. So fine. So now what I'm trying to do is actually I wanted to open with then file name. What is the file name? This is a file name. So I wanted to open in the read mode. I want to open in the read mode. Only thing what I'll be changing the mode I'm trying to change. So I'm trying to read in the read mode. Now what I'll be doing, I'll be reading line by line. So the way I have mentioned here. So something similar to line by line. So I will be reading line by line, or I'll be reading multiple lines. Now let us see that like first we'll read line by line. So then what happens actually? One line is equal to, so I will be opening, what is that actually? F dot read line. So now then I will be printing the line. So I will be printing the line. So just I'm reading it and I'm trying to print it. So this is what only one line I got, but I want to read the entire line from exist in the file. How should I do that? Then I'll be doing read lines. I wanted to read entire lines from the file system, and then I wanted to print one by one. Then how should I do that actually? So this is the lines actually. Now what I will be doing, I will be looping in the lines for line in lines. So I will be looping here, then I will be writing one line. So it's like I will be reading entire file. So if you see here actually, I will be reading entire file, how it was there in the program I have read in. So if you wanted to read entire file, this is how you can read entire file. So that is what I wanted to discuss. Other than that, okay. So another point is, so sometimes what happens actually, the file will exist in some other location. So if you want to access the file exists some other location, you should be giving the file path, entire file path. For example, since all this file exist in this location, so I'm trying to give the exact this one. But if the file exists in sample data, let me see that like any file exists in sample data. So now is any doc file is there? No problem. Okay. Or else like I wanted to create in this folder, then I should be giving the path of the file where I need to create. So let me do the same thing. So I wanted to do sample data, but the thing is like I wanted to create in the sample folder. So then what should I do? I should be giving the path of the things. So what is the path actually? Path is not at the same location. Path is at the sample folder. So then I will be saying dot slash so sample. Let me do. Depending on whether you are using a Windows or Mac, this folder directions will be different. So now, if you see here, actually, I have written into sample folder. Let us see that like whether this text file exists in the sample. Earlier, it was not exist. Now you see that actually whether it exists or not. So the text file exists or not. So let us see that like the text file exists or not. The text.txt file is exist here. Means like I am trying to, means like if you are trying to access the file, you should be giving the full path of the file. What is the path of the file? So initially in this folder, the file exists here. So that is what you should be giving. So that is the other thing you should be remembering. So the full path or relative path. So what is the next thing? Okay. Okay. If I have to remove the file, then I should be using some other functions like import OS, then dot remove file. So I wanted to remove this file. So for example, I wanted to delete this file. How should I do it actually? So now let me go here. I'll say import OS operating system commands, import OS. Then I'll be doing OS dot remove. Remove is the function exist in the things. So I'll be using, because Python doesn't have a remove. So I'm trying to do remove. So now here I'll be giving the file, the position of the file information. So then I'll be giving the file information which I wanted to remove. So that is the file I wanted to remove. So now after removing it actually, if the file doesn't exist, it will give an error. If file exists, it doesn't give an error. Okay, now let me see that like this file, I removed it actually, whether it still exists in that folder or not. So this file doesn't exist. Now I'm trying to create it now. So after creating, whether this file exists or not. So this file is exist here. So then I'm trying to remove. So now after removing, we'll check again whether this file exists or not. So this file doesn't exist. So you can play around with remove thing, or rename is also OS file only. So you can rename file also. So there is a rename also is there. Let me check. So all these are like some, because in Python, some files, some functions are not supported. Only basic things are supported. So we can do that. But if you want to do something, yes, move file from one location to another location, you will be using OS kind of things. So we'll discuss this about some kind of a basic operations of OS handle in a later section. One section I will be discussing about all the basic commands about creating a directory, moving that into a directory, deleting directory, all those things, listing the files, everything we'll be discussing in one session. So that is another one session we'll be discussing. But right now, since we are discussing about the file, so I'm trying to mention here about the remove the file. Any other questions? Like I think I'm done with the file handling. Any questions? Anything left out? I discussed everything, right? Okay. So copy, move, delete. This is, you will be using a different functions. So those functions we will be discussing when we are dealing with operating system. Other than that, like open, close, everything we discussed. So split, all those things like remove, append. So there is no append, there is no remove, but we'll be using OS functions. So anything left out? No. So any questions?
No, sir.
So the assignment to you will be, you should be same thing like last time what I told, no, like you will be reading your group number, name, details actually. Then instead of dumping into the list, appending to the list, you should be writing into the what is called file, and then you will be reading back and you will be counting how many students are there in the class. So you give the file name as something that like, okay, semester 4 GND 6M students .txt. Then you will be dumping all those files, information about the students. Then you will be reading, and then you will be displaying. Is that fine? So that is the assignment. Okay, so this ends the file system, file handling. So next class we will be doing exceptional handling. Maybe we will complete in one class only exceptional handling. Then after that we will be doing regular expression. The regular expression will be a typical thing. So we spend maybe few sessions there because it is very important also, and it is a little bit like a typical. So
Sir.
yeah.
Sir, notes.
You
can dump notes.
You are appearing for exam?
No.
Okay. So
No, sir.
What I will do now, this file I will be uploading to the Google Classroom.
Okay.
So this one I will upload along with with the recording.
Okay, sir.